Ex Homo. Behold the man. What kind of person authors their own life story, not just sharing their journey, but declaring it with such an audacious, almost divine title? What incredible ego, what profound genius, or perhaps what dangerous, escalating madness must possess a mind to make such a declaration? This isn't merely an autobiography in the conventional sense. This is Friedrich Nietzsche's desperate, final attempt to explain himself to a world he felt was misunderstanding and maligning his philosophy, distorting his intentions, and misinterpreting his very soul. He knew his ideas were explosive, his pronouncements controversial, and his spirit fiercely independent. And so, in this book, he undertakes the monumental task of constructing his own narrative, outlining his intellectual evolution, celebrating victories, and confronting critics. He writes as if racing against an invisible clock, compelled to articulate his true self, his purpose, before anyone else could define him, before history etched a false portrait. Because, terrifyingly, it was a race against time. This monumental work was penned on the precipice of his mind's unraveling, a final, brilliant, defiant roar against encroaching darkness. It's a testament born of urgency, a plea for understanding, written just before the profound mental collapse that would tragically silence his voice forever. Every page, every bold assertion, every piercing insight within Ex Homo carries the unbearable weight of impending tragedy, lending a desperate, visceral urgency to his words. It's an invitation to witness a mind at its peak, just as it begins its descent. Friedrich Nietzsche. The name alone conjures images of an intimidating intellect, a philosopher whose ideas shaped the modern world. But today, we're not approaching Nietzsche as a distant, abstract figure. Instead, we're stepping into a deeply personal space, the final, lucid work he ever penned, Ex Homo. This isn't just another philosophical treatise. Ex Homo is Nietzsche's raw, unvarnished intellectual autobiography, a profound self-reckoning where he reevaluates his entire life's work, his struggles, his triumphs, and his impact. It's a defiant roar from a man who knew his mental faculties were slipping, a final, urgent attempt to define his own legacy before the encroaching silence took hold. When we engage with Ex Homo, we're not merely reading words on a page. We are, in a very real sense, listening to a human being, vulnerable yet resolute, attempting to articulate his truth as the world around him and within him began to dissolve. My own journey with this challenging book has been transformative precisely because it forces you to confront the man behind the ideas. Our goal in this video is to navigate the complex landscape of Ex Homo together. We'll distill its often provocative insights and uncover the timeless, potent life lessons it offers, lessons about individuality, meaning, suffering, and the relentless pursuit of one's own truth. Join me as we explore the testament of a titan, a final, extraordinary gift to humanity. Part 1: Why I Am So Wise. In Ex Homo, Nietzsche constructs an argument for his profound wisdom, insisting it's unlike any other. He sharply defines himself, rejecting the label German. He saw himself as a good European, unbound by nationalism, choosing a broader cultural identity. His wisdom wasn't rooted in nationalism, but in a deeper, universal understanding. This understanding, he argues, wasn't solely from books, but forged in the crucible of his immense suffering. For Nietzsche, true wisdom arises from overcoming personal hardship, not just abstract theory. His chronic illnesses, migraines, near blindness, incessant pain were not impediments but severe teachers. He transformed these struggles into profound insight, demonstrating wisdom is hard-won resilience, not mere academic knowledge. Crucially, his life was a relentless fight against decadence, a decline of vital instincts. He recognized its presence in his failing health, yet his philosophy emerged as its powerful antidote. His existence became active resistance, striving for spiritual health and strength even as his body betrayed him. This personal battle linked to his broader critique of Western culture, which he saw as spiritually decayed. Ultimately, Nietzsche's wisdom stems from his fiercely independent spirit and meticulous curation of influences. He wasn't a passive recipient. He deliberately chose his intellectual forebears, seeking invigorating voices while critiquing contemporaries. This conscious selection of what nourished his spirit and rejection of what diminished it was paramount. His wisdom was a product, not just of what he thought, but how he chose to think, rooted in rigorous self-examination and unwavering commitment to life's affirmation. Part 2: Why I Am So Clever unveils Nietzsche as an astute biohacker of the self. He saw genius not as abstract, but rooted in cultivated physiology, treating the body as the mind's indispensable foundation. He believed nutrition directly sculpted thought. His diet was almost clinical, simple, light meals, avoiding anything heavy or stimulating that could cloud intellectual clarity. Digestion for him was intrinsically linked to mental agility. A clear gut mirrored a clear mind. His food choices weren't preferences but strategic decisions, directly impacting his capacity for profound thought. The importance of place was equally critical. Nietzsche obsessively sought climates and locations that invigorated him. He understood damp, oppressive environments could drain the brilliant mind, while dry, sun-drenched, high-altitude locales like Sils Maria acted as essential intellectual stimulants. Air and light were potent physiological factors capable of enhancing or sabotaging mental potency. His recreation was similarly purposeful, far from idleness. It was a deliberate, strategic act of restoration. He engaged in activities that genuinely revitalized his spirit and intellect: long, solitary walks in nature, immersing himself in uplifting music. This wasn't about escaping work, but consciously replenishing creative energy, ensuring his mind remained sharp and resilient for demanding philosophical tasks. Ultimately, Nietzsche's cleverness stemmed from this profound, practical understanding of the human organism. He meticulously optimized every physical variable, treating himself as an experiment in the physiology of genius, demonstrating how deeply our environment, diet, and chosen pastimes shape our capacity to think and create. Part 3: The Art of Self-Preservation. Nietzsche, ever the provocateur, urges us to trust our instincts. He argues our inner guide inherently knows what nurtures and what depletes us. This isn't petty selfishness, but profound self-awareness, a personal barometer for what is truly good or bad for you. Crucially, he warns against the insidious poison of resentment, a bitter, often subconscious, resentment felt by the weak towards the strong. It stems from powerlessness, distorting morality to denigrate what it cannot achieve. Succumbing allows external factors to dictate your inner state, eroding vitality. The antidote: vigorous self-affirmation, cultivating one's own strengths, refusing to let envy or bitterness take root. This leads to the vital skill of knowing when to engage and, more importantly, when to withdraw. Nietzsche advocated strategic self-protection, recognizing some interactions and environments are inherently draining. Modern psychology echoes this, emphasizing setting boundaries. Just as you wouldn't knowingly consume poison, Why allow toxic people or situations to drain your energy? This isn't fear-based avoidance, but strength-based withdrawal, a conscious choice to preserve well-being, creative energy, and joy. It's about discerning what serves your highest self and courageously shedding what does not, ensuring precious energy directs towards growth, not depletion. Nietzsche urges us to be architects of our own flourishing, fiercely protecting our inner landscape from all that seeks to diminish it. Part 4: Why I Write Such Good Books. Nietzsche's self-assessment in Ecce Homo isn't just intellectual, it's profoundly rooted in his unique approach to writing. He crafted artistic experiences, meticulously designed to challenge and provoke. For him, the how of his expression was always as crucial as the what he was conveying. He famously declared his works were for a select few, for ears that can hear him. This wasn't intellectual snobbery, but a deep recognition that his radical ideas demanded a particular receptivity, a willingness to deeply engage with uncomfortable truths. He sought active readers, prepared to wrestle with his prose, not just passively consume it. His style powerfully reflects this exclusivity. Nietzsche's aphorisms, concise and enigmatic, actively force readers to pause, reflect, and interpret. His books aren't linear arguments, but multi-layered intellectual puzzles demanding active participation. You don't just read Nietzsche, you think with him, often against him, provoking profound internal dialogue. Intriguingly, Nietzsche saw his writing as a direct reflection of his physical and spiritual state. He genuinely believed his declining health and suffering granted deeper insights, infusing his prose with feverish intensity. His words were the very pulse of his being, forged in personal experience, offering a heightened sensitivity to life's profound nuances. This profound ambition that great art, even philosophy, should feel intensely personal and profoundly universal. Nietzsche's books, with autobiographical undertones, resonate with fundamental human questions about value and existence. His struggles invite us to confront our own. His personal art becomes a mirror for universal experience, proving specific truths reveal broad insights. His legacy lies not just in his philosophy, but in the artistic power of his prose. In Part 5 of Ecce Homo, Nietzsche turns his gaze to his very first major work, The Birth of Tragedy, published decades prior. He critiques it with a seasoned eye, acknowledging its youthful romanticism and a touch of artist's metaphysics. He admits its overly artistic style, even calling it a book for artists with an artistic background. His early enthusiasm for Wagner, later vehemently rejected, also looms large. Yet, amidst the self-critique, he reasserts its profound core. He revisits his central tension, the Apollonian versus the Dionysian. The Apollonian embodies order, reason, individuation, beautiful illusion, think Apollo, bringing clarity and form. The Dionysian, conversely, represents chaos, intoxication, primal instinct, the dissolution of boundaries, the ecstatic force of Dionysus. Nietzsche saw these two as not just opposing but interdependent, essential for true art and a profound understanding of life. His pride shines through as he reflects on being the first to frame existence not as a moral or religious problem, but an aesthetic one. Life, with its inherent suffering and joy, is a work of art to be experienced and affirmed. This radical perspective, born from youthful genius, underpins much of his later philosophy. It resonates deeply today. Meaning isn't just found in life's pleasant, orderly aspects, but equally in embracing its chaotic, challenging, and tragic elements. It's about finding beauty and purpose in life's messy, glorious tapestry, both light and shadow. Part 6, The Untimely Meditations. Here Nietzsche re-evaluates his early essays, declaring them a full-scale war against the cultural complacency and mediocrity of his era. He saw these writings as a deliberate assault on pervasive historical worship that stifled original thought and on educational systems that prioritized conformity over independent spirit. His critiques aimed squarely at a society paralyzed by uncritical reverence for the past, preventing it from forging its own future. A prime example is Schopenhauer as educator. This wasn't merely praise. Nietzsche used Schopenhauer as an archetype of the true educator, someone whose profound influence inspires self-discovery and personal transformation, guiding individuals towards their potential, even through uncomfortable truths. It's about finding a mentor for self-overcoming. This leads to the crucial concept of being untimely. Nietzsche wore this label proudly. To be untimely means deliberately stepping out of sync with your own age, speaking truths your era isn't ready for, or actively suppresses. It's an intellectual rebellion, a refusal to conform to prevailing norms that foster stagnation. It's speaking for a future that might one day comprehend. This radical untimeliness prompts a vital question. If Nietzsche were alive today, what modern sacred cows, what prevailing orthodoxies, or what cultural blind spots would he attack? What aspects of our historical narratives, our educational paradigms, or our ubiquitous mediocrity would incite his sharpest critiques? It challenges us to examine our own age with his rigorous, uncompromising spirit. Part 7, The Freedom of Human, All Too Human. Human, All Too Human, subtitled A Book for Free Spirit, served as Nietzsche's invitation to those ready to shed inherited prejudices and question ingrained beliefs. He sought minds liberated from religious, metaphysical, and romantic dogmas, individuals brave enough to think independently and challenge morality's foundations. This book marks his dramatic rupture with former heroes like Richard Wagner and Arthur Schopenhauer. Where he once championed their idealism, he now viewed them as grand illusions, preventing genuine engagement with reality. It was a painful, necessary intellectual patricide, signaling his turn from romanticized pessimism. A crucial shift occurred towards rigorous scientific and psychological inquiry into morality. Dissecting human motivations with precision, Nietzsche now saw morality not as divine decree, but as a human construction rooted in psychological needs and historical context. He sought to unmask the all-too-human origins of our ideals, embracing skepticism and empirical observation over metaphysics. Nietzsche himself described this transformation as a profound convalescence. After his breakdown, Human, All Too Human represented his personal recovery from the fevered dreams of romanticism and idealism. It was a cleansing, a deliberate cooling of passions, allowing for a cooler, more detached, and ultimately healthier perspective. This book was therapy, a painstaking return to intellectual health. With Part 8, Nietzsche revisits two pivotal works, Daybreak and The Gay Science, initiating his full-blown assault on traditional morality. In Daybreak, his goal was to unearth the psychological roots of our moral beliefs, dissecting their origins not in divine command, but in human weakness and resentment. He questioned the very foundations of good and evil, stripping away their assumed sanctity. Then, in The Gay Science, we encounter the earth-shattering pronouncement, God is dead. This wasn't a jubilant cry, but a profound diagnosis of a collapsing cultural framework. For Nietzsche, it meant the transcendent source of value, meaning, and objective truth underpinning Western civilization had lost its power. Humanity had, unwittingly, killed it through its own intellectual advancements. The implications were monumental. Without God, no preordained meaning, no universal moral compass. This left a terrifying void, yet also immense opportunity. Within this landscape, Nietzsche introduces amor fati, a love of one's fate. It's a joyful affirmation and acceptance of everything that is, including suffering, as integral to one's existence, willed and embraced. This freedom, however, came with crushing responsibility. If God no longer dictated values, then the individual was tasked with creating their own. This was the dawn of a new morality, forged in the crucible of individual will. The terror and triumph lay in becoming the sculptor of one's own soul, the architect of one's own meaning, in a world utterly devoid of inherent guidelines. It was a call to embrace the terrifying freedom of self-creation. Part 9, the heart of the message, thus spoke Zarathustra. Now we arrive at Nietzsche's magnum opus, thus spoke Zarathustra. This isn't traditional philosophy, it's a poetic, prophetic text designed to reevaluate all values. Nietzsche chose this allegorical style deliberately to speak directly to the human spirit, bypassing academic dryness and inspiring profound internal change. He wanted to sing, not merely lecture. Central to Zarathustra is the Übermensch, a widely misunderstood concept. This isn't a master race or tyrant. Rather, the Übermensch is a goal for humanity to overcome itself, a continuous striving beyond current limitations, creating new values, becoming a higher, self-mastered version, a bridge, not an end. Linked closely is the will to power. Forget crude dominance. Nietzsche's will to power is the fundamental drive for growth, mastery, and self-overcoming. It's the inherent impulse to expand, create, assert one's being, to become more, not just to survive, but to flourish and excel. Finally, the most challenging thought experiment, eternal recurrence. Nietzsche asks, what if every moment of your life, every joy, every sorrow, would recur infinitely exactly as it happened? To affirm this thought, to embrace this fate and say a resounding yes to its endless repetition, is the ultimate test of amor fati, the love of one's fate. It's the measure of a life lived with complete affirmation. Part 10, Beyond Good and Evil, in Ecce Homo, acts as a direct philosophical explanation of thus spoke Zarathustra's poetic ideas. Nietzsche moves beyond allegory, questioning the foundations of our moral judgments. The title, from his influential work, signals this audacious project to delve beyond surface morality. He famously distinguishes master morality from slave morality. Master morality, born from the strong, values pride, power, and self-assertion, defining good by its own elevation and bad by weakness. Slave morality, conversely, originates from the oppressed and resentful. It demonizes master virtues, elevating humility, pity, and obedience as good, flipping the moral script as revenge against the powerful. Nietzsche critiques past philosophers for merely justifying their own cultural prejudices and personal preferences, presenting them as universal truths. Their systems, he contended, reflected limited perspectives, not ultimate reality. This leads to his urgent call for philosophers of the future. These aren't academics but courageous value creators, individuals with the strength and vision to forge new moral horizons. Unburdened by dogma, they must reevaluate all sacred values, guiding humanity beyond simplistic good and evil dichotomies that constrained our potential. Ecce Homo challenges us to embrace this profound task, to dare to think and create beyond traditional morals. Part 11, Hammering the Idols. Nietzsche famously declared his intent to philosophize with a hammer. This wasn't about destruction for its own sake, but about rigorously testing the hollow resonance of long-held beliefs, tapping at revered cultural idols to expose their inherent fragility and emptiness. His disillusionment culminated in a brutal final judgment on Richard Wagner. Once a hero, Wagner now epitomized the cultural sickness Nietzsche so despised. Wagner's theatricality, his appeal to mass sentimentality, his embrace of Christian themes all became potent symbols of decadence, a poisoning of the spirit, a narcotic dulling critical faculties. Nietzsche then turned his hammer to the most fundamental idols, the very concept of a true world beyond this one, and the traditional morality born from it. He dismantled the Platonic and Christian distinction between appearance and reality, asserting that the true world was a fiction, a compensatory invention for those too weak to affirm this life. Traditional morality, with its emphasis on humility, pity, and self-denial, was exposed as a slave morality, a reversal of life-affirming values designed to suppress strength and individuality. This fearless demolition of idols resonates powerfully today. Nietzsche's method compels us to examine our own inherited truths, our unexamined assumptions, our contemporary dogmas. In an age saturated with information and popular opinion, his call to philosophize with a hammer is a vital injunction for critical thinking, for rigorously testing the foundations of what we are told to believe, rather than passively accepting popular opinion as fact. Part 12, Why I Am a Destiny, is the audacious culmination of Ecce Homo. Here, Nietzsche presents his most dramatic self-portrait, declaring himself a force of nature, a historical turning point. He asserts, famously, "I am not a man, I am dynamite." This isn't mere bravado, it's a declaration of his perceived purpose to detonate the foundations of Western thought. He believed he was destined for the revaluation of all values, a monumental task involving the complete overthrow of Judeo-Christian morality. For centuries, this morality had, in his view, chained humanity to weakness, guilt, and the denial of life. His mission, as he saw it, was to replace this life-denying system with a new, life-affirming ethos. Imagine the immense psychological burden of such a self-proclaimed mission, to believe oneself uniquely chosen to dismantle millennia of established values, to be the harbinger of a new era for humanity. This was not a modest ambition, but a staggering weight on his solitary shoulders. As we listen to these pronouncements, we are compelled to acknowledge the incredibly fine line between profound, epoch-making insight and the precipice of megalomania. Its attention made all the more poignant and tragic by the knowledge of his impending mental breakdown, which would occur shortly after these words were penned. Was this the desperate clarion call of a prophet, or the early symptoms of a mind unraveling under the weight of its own perceived grandeur? Perhaps, terrifyingly, it was both. Part 13, The Antichrist Misunderstanding. This title often misleads, obscuring Nietzsche's actual stance. His critique of Christianity, particularly in The Antichrist, is widely misconstrued as an attack on Jesus. Yet Nietzsche profoundly admired Jesus of Nazareth. He saw Jesus as a noble, psychologically powerful individual, a free spirit, living his truth authentically, embodying a form of master morality before his teaching's reinterpretation. Nietzsche's true target was the institution, the historical church. He believed it corrupted Jesus's message, transforming a life-affirming figure into the foundation of a slave morality. This morality, he argued, glorified weakness, pity, and humility as virtues. These values, born from resentment, were fundamentally life-denying, promoting resignation and an otherworldly focus over embracing earthly existence. Thus, the Antichrist for Nietzsche wasn't a literal person or a satanic figure. It was a symbolic, radical counter-movement against a specific value system, the decadent, life-denying morality he believed historical Christianity championed. His Antichrist is a philosophical stance, a rejection of an ideology he felt stifled human potential. This distinction is crucial, considering how Nietzsche's ideas, including the Antichrist concept, were misused and distorted, notably by totalitarian regimes. His text offers a complex, provocative critique aimed at moral evaluation, not hate. Part 14, The Shadow of the End. As we reach the culmination of our journey through Ecce Homo, an inescapable, profound tragedy casts its shadow. Nietzsche completed this remarkable, often bewildering self-portrait in late 1888. Yet, mere weeks later, in early January 1889, in Turin, the brilliant mind that crafted such audacious declarations finally succumbed, collapsing into the mental darkness from which he would never fully emerge. This stark timeline imbues Ecce Homo with an almost unbearable poignancy. How are we to read a book so brimming with supreme self-confidence, proclaiming health, strength, and intellectual triumph, when we know the author was teetering on the brink of profound mental instability? Every declaration of great health or overcoming now echoes with a tragic irony. Here was a man so intensely focused on the cultivation of bodily and intellectual vigor, who meticulously chronicled his struggles with chronic illness, only to be utterly consumed by the ultimate malady, the disintegration of his own mind. It forces us to ask a difficult, perhaps unanswerable question: did the very intensity of his philosophical pursuit, his relentless quest to evaluate all values, contribute to the eventual breakdown of his sanity? Or conversely, was his philosophy, particularly this final, defiant self-assertion in Ecce Homo, a desperate, heroic attempt to stave off the encroaching madness, a final, fervent affirmation of life in the face of an inevitable inner collapse? Part 15, What is the Übermensch today? Perhaps no Nietzschean concept is as famous and as tragically misunderstood as the Übermensch. Let's be unequivocally clear, this isn't about some physically superior, emotionless being lording over others, nor a master race. That's a vile, propagandistic distortion, weaponized by ideologies Nietzsche himself would have utterly despised. Instead, the Übermensch is a deeply personal ideal, a perpetual process of self-overcoming. It's about elevating yourself, not others. Nietzsche's man who has overcome himself is not an endpoint, but an active, dynamic journey of growth, the arduous and exhilarating task of becoming who you are. This involves rigorous self-mastery, not just discipline, but a profound understanding and revaluation of one's own values. It's about harnessing your creative will to shape your own existence, to author your life with authenticity and purpose, finding meaning within yourself and living with an intentionality that transcends conventional expectations. Consider the artist who relentlessly pushes boundaries, defying market trends to express a unique vision, or the entrepreneur who innovates against all odds. Think of individuals choosing unconventional paths, living deeply examined lives, challenging the status quo, not to rebel, but to genuinely fulfill their own potential. These are not people born superior, but individuals who consciously choose growth, embrace struggles as opportunities for transformation, and commit to the arduous work of crafting themselves anew, day by day. They embody the Übermensch for our time, a testament to the boundless capacity for human becoming. Part 16, Resisting the Herd. Having explored Nietzsche's self-reckoning, we now face his most enduring challenge, resisting the herd. In our hyper-connected 21st century, herd morality manifests as seeking comfort and validation in popular opinion. It's letting the prevailing sentiment dictate our thoughts and values. Social media, promising connection, often crafts powerful echo chambers. Algorithms, fine-tuned for engagement, reinforce existing biases, filtering dissent and presenting a curated reality. Within these digital herds, collective agreement feels reassuring, individual thought an unwelcome disturbance. Nietzsche, the champion of the individual, urges us towards intellectual independence, not contrarianism, but rigorous self-examination and critical thought. It means seeking diverse perspectives, questioning widely accepted narratives, and forging your own convictions, even when they diverge from the majority. His strategy, relentless introspection, refusing to delegate our thinking to the collective. Ultimately, resisting the herd's magnetic pull in a world screaming for conformity requires immense courage. It's risking unpopularity, tolerating discomfort, embracing the solitude of genuine self-discovery. It's about being an individual truly and unflinchingly in a hyper-connected sphere that pressures us to be just another face in the crowd. Welcome to the 7-day Become Who You Are action plan, inspired by Nietzsche's Ecce Homo. This isn't just self-improvement, it's self-overcoming, forging your unique path. Are you ready to apply these ideas tangibly? Days 1 and 2, Cultivating Cleverness. Become an astute observer. Analyze your immediate environment. What aspects elevate you? Which ones drain your energy? Diligently track your diet, sleep patterns, and overall energy levels. Note how different foods and activities affect your vitality. Choose one small, manageable change based on your observations, perhaps removing a minor distraction or adding a healthy snack. The goal here is precise self-knowledge, understanding what truly nourishes or depletes you. Days 3 and 4, Embracing Wisdom. Wisdom for Nietzsche often emerged from overcoming. Reflect on a significant hardship or challenge you faced and conquered. Write down in detail what that experience taught you, not just about the world, but about your own resilience and strengths. Then, practice a Marfati love of one's fate. Consciously affirm that hardship, seeing it as an indispensable part of your becoming, essential to the person you are today. This isn't passive acceptance, but an active, joyous affirmation of everything. Day 5, Unleashing Your Free Spirit. A free spirit dares to question, to explore beyond the comfortable confines of routine. Today, consciously step outside your established patterns. Take a different route to work, try a new activity, or simply change your daily schedule. More importantly, seek out perspectives that challenge your deeply held beliefs. Read an article, watch a documentary, or listen to a podcast that advocates for a viewpoint you typically disagree with. Engage with it openly, not to concede, but to expand your intellectual horizons. Days 6 and 7, Forging Your Destiny. This is where your unique self truly asserts itself. Dedicate these final days to defining your core values, entirely independent of societal expectations, family pressures, or others' opinions. What truly matters to you, list them. Then, synthesize these values into a powerful personal mission statement. Begin it with "I will," followed by a clear, active declaration of how you intend to live and what you aim to become. This is your personal credo, your commitment to the life you choose to lead. This 7-day journey is merely a starting point. The goal is to ignite a lifelong process of self-discovery and self-overcoming, truly becoming who you are meant to be. Embrace the challenge and begin your transformation today. Now let's distill the essence of Ecce Homo into 3 powerful, memorable points, your 3-point summary for living a more Nietzschean life. First, master thyself. Nietzsche vehemently asserts that your physical and mental well-being are the absolute foundation of everything. This isn't just about diet and exercise. It's about taking radical, uncompromising responsibility for your health, your habits, and your entire environment. It's about building a robust self, a vessel strong enough to carry your ambitions. Second, create thy values. Challenge the idols, question the inherited morals, and scrutinize the societal norms that dictate what is good and evil. Ecce Homo implores you to have the profound courage to define these concepts for your own life's unique project, rather than passively accepting them. Forge your own moral compass, aligned with your deepest will to power. And finally, perhaps the most profound of all, love thy fate, or as Nietzsche termed it, amor fati. This means embracing every single part of your existence, the triumphs and the tribulations, the joy and the suffering, not merely as things to be endured, but as utterly necessary components of who you are and who you are becoming. It's about looking at your entire destiny and loving it, passionately and without reservation, wishing for nothing to be different. Don't just accept your fate, celebrate it. These 3 pillars, self-mastery, value creation, and the ardent love of fate, offer a path to a life affirmed, a life lived with profound purpose and individual sovereignty. We've journeyed through the intricate self-portrait of Friedrich Nietzsche in Ecce Homo, a profound invitation to self-overcoming and authenticity. But understanding is just the first step. Now it's your turn to actively engage with these ideas. I challenge you to transform passive watching into active participation. In the comments below, share just one concrete thing you will do this week to become who you are. What small, deliberate action will you take to align more closely with your authentic self, to live more fully in your own truth? If you found this deep dive valuable and wish to explore Nietzsche further, or perhaps found Ecce Homo a little overwhelming, I highly recommend a modern translation by R.J. Hollingdale or Walter Kaufman for Ecce Homo itself. Alternatively, for a more accessible entry point into Nietzsche's thought, consider starting with Twilight of the Idols. It's a fantastic, concise summary of his philosophy and a brilliant introduction to his unique style. Your engagement fuels this community. If this video resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up. It truly helps us reach more curious minds. And if you're hungry for more explorations into life-changing books and transformative ideas, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Remember this as you forge your path, shaping your next chapter with intention and courage. He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how.